I am a professor of finance at the University of Utah, and I have studied for many years the process of bid-ask, and what we, casually using that word, might consider the normal process of a bid-ask. And the way a bid-ask would be is, and think about selling your own used car. You get a sense of what you think it's worth. You go to the Blue Book, or you look in the newspapers, or you get some sense of what you think it's worth. Chances are, when you place your ad in the newspaper, it's going to be more than that price where you think it's worth. That means that I'm going to ask high. On the other hand, if I were wanting to buy a used car and I saw your asking price, I would not likely say, okay, I'll buy it at that. What you're likely to say is that I'm going to bid for that item with a low price. We both understand that the real value is somewhere in between. The ask price is going to be high, the bid price will be low. Now, in sort of the process that most of us have become acquainted with, we're likely to not share much information. We're likely to say just enough to keep you interested, but not too much to scare you away. We want to keep you hooked in this process as we negotiate what the real price, transaction price, might be. So as we transact, let's suppose that I am selling it and you're buying it. I'm going to ask high, you're going to bid low. We each want to make the transaction. You ask questions. I will give you just the amount of information I feel I have to give you, nothing more. And I will slowly but surely lower my ask price. You will slowly but surely raise your bid price until we reach a price, if we're going to transact, that we both agree is about where the value of that item should be. Now, that I'm calling the European Western model of transacting. I don't know where it came from, but let's just say that's what it is in order to put a label on it. Now, what I want you to think about is, suppose you're going to sell that same used car to your very closest and best friend. Now, you still have the same idea of where that value of the car is going to be, but are you going to ask that high price of your very best friend? You're not likely to. You're likely to ask a price very close to where the true value is. If you really trust your friend, you might even ask a price below that true value. Why would you do that? Well, it's because you're my best friend. And I would do it to signal to you how much I value you and value your relationship and our friendship. And I'm willing to sell my item for less than what I believe its true value is. Now, on the other hand, you come in, you want to buy my item. Before, you were in the other model, you were saying, well, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to buy it at the lowest price. Well, but in this model, since you trust me, we're the best of friends. I mean, the very best of friends. You may even offer to buy this item for more than what you feel it's worth. Why would you do that? Because you trust me. Now, what's likely to happen in the information that we share? I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this, most likely. You're going to tell me everything that you feel I need to know about that transaction. I will increase my ask price. You will decrease your bid price until we reach that transaction price where we trade. Now, the interesting thing about that, in the first model, you walk away thinking, oh my goodness, I wonder if I could have gotten a better price. I wonder if I'd have held out, if I could have sold. Walk away not convinced you got the best deal. In the second model, where you're trading with your very best friend, you walk away thinking, I got the best deal possible. I'm going to trade with that person again. There's this level of trust that we each have. I'm going to call that one the model that, at least based on evidence that I've read, that most closely describes the early years of trade amongst the Native Americans in this country. So we'll call that whatever you wish to call it. We'll call it the native model versus the European or Western model. And those are the two models, let's say. Now, they're both very simplified versions of what really took place. Now, when there was barter, there was this trade transaction that you could pretty much see the item that was going to be sold or purchased. That made disclosure of information easier. St. Thomas Aquinas said, you know, I don't necessarily have to disclose to you that the horse I'm about to sell you only has one eye. You should be able to see for yourself that the horse only has one eye. But should I tell you that the horse has intestinal problems? Yes, because you can't see it. So in a barter situation where you're trading something that you can see and feel and experience, there's sort of an automatic trust level that is fostered. But once we begin trading and buying things that we can't see, we can't experience, or we use a medium of exchange that removes us just a little bit from that relationship that we have built up between us, then there's this possibility of trust to degrade the quality of that transaction. Now, suppose, just for a moment, that we have a European white man who's trading with a Native American man. They each have something the other wants. They want to transact. Imagine those examples of the Western model that I described and the Indian model I described. Again, I'm just using those as labels. Think about the process. Let's suppose that I have something I want to sell you. Perhaps it's a brass bell. Now, I want to sell you a brass bell. I'm going to make the price be as high as possible, and I'm going to share as little information as possible. That's my culture. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, necessarily, unless you lie. But there's nothing wrong with that inherently in that process. If you come from Europe, you're used to it. That's the way business is done. On the other hand, suppose that that individual meets up with a Native American man who has a different process in mind. His process is that I'm going to offer to buy it at the high price. I'm going to share all the information about all the gold that I might have or know that exists. I'm going to share all this information freely because that's a part of my culture. Now imagine that. White man comes in, he has a bell, he's going to price it high. The Indian comes in, he wants to buy this bell, but he's going to essentially say, I'll pay this high price. And he said, oh, by the way, I've got a lot more gold where that came from. What's going to happen? The white man is going to say, here, I'm going to sell my bell. The Indian says, here's all this gold. Boom, transaction's done. Oh, the white man walks away really happy. He got a lot of gold and information about a lot more gold for this transaction of this brass bell. But what happened in the Indian's mind? He says, wait a minute, what just happened? I trusted this person to trade with me like my brother would. And he didn't. He didn't. He didn't come back and say, oh no, you're offering to pay too much. He took what I was offering to pay. And I feel burned by that process. Oh, surely he didn't mean what he just did. So you wait till the next transaction comes along. White man brings in something else, I'll sell it. The Indian brings in what he wants to buy it, and bingo, it happens all over again. Again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with either culture, but it's where those two cultures come together that presents an opportunity for one of the cultures to take advantage of the other cultures. One of the earliest books that I read as a kid is Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. That book broke my heart because there were so many times when the Indian would come back to the bargaining table and sign another treaty, and the white man would come to the table, and whether he really meant to sign what he signed or not, the fact of the matter is that that treaty was eventually broken, and yet the Indian would come back. And my heart goes out to those people. It goes out to the people, any people, whether it's Native American or white man, any people who get taken advantage of in the course of a transaction. The lessons that I take from studying history and learning about relationships between individuals, and particularly relationships that lead to business transactions, is the incredible importance of integrity and ethics and honesty and openness in a transaction that occurs between two people. It's so incredibly important. It is today, it was 100 years ago, it was 1,000 years ago. It will always be important. I would like to think that we would learn from the lessons of history, from the lessons of how wonderful business is as a profession, in fact, as a calling, if you will, because it satisfies those needs and those wants of individuals. And if it's done so with a full measure of integrity and ethics, it's done so in a way that would build the trust between the two of us and the relationships that we would form. That's what it's all about. And in my view, if the Native culture in this country were to turn back and look at their own history, they will find out that they were among the best. And I mean the best in terms of integrity, but I mean also the best in terms of providing those goods and services that we all need and want. They were the best there was. There should be a lot of pride in the Native way of doing business. And that's what I hope is transpired by this project at New Mexico State University, is this notion that there is an ethic, there is a culture, there is a way of doing business that exists in the Native American community, certainly has existed, and could still again exist to be an example to us all.